Hello team, welcome back to another Line Warcast. This is your map today. It's a 4v4 between Alpha Team and Bravo Team as always. On Alpha Team, Taranto in blue, Tomahawk in red, someone said that my nickname sucks in orange, Birdie in teal, and on Bravo Team, Animorph in pink, Kartoffelman in green, M-Life in purple, and Snow Angel in black. We can see where Alpha Team is spawned. It's all these blue locations. Bravo Team spawning in the pink. So Bravo Team going entirely to the left-hand side of the map. We got Tomahawk up in red for Alpha Team in the north. Birdie right here in teal as mentioned. Someone said that my nickname sucks a little bit to the south of Birdie. And then this is Taranto. And then of course on left-hand side, Animorph in pink is going to get the first contact against Alpha Team. Snow Angel a bit off to the left, and then we have, this is Animorph's airport, M-Life in the bottom, and then Kartoffelman right behind. So it'll be kind of good for Bravo Team in that there's more reinforcements, because it's really kind of just a 4v3 at the moment for the little bit until Tomahawk can get down here. Tomahawk's gone with 3 factories immediately with a town and a port, some industries and a barracks. So no planes that would be able to reach here super quickly. But Taranto's going to start digging in, which will buy a lot of time. Birdie kind of providing a little bit of support on the left flank. Taranto's going to back up even more to get inside of this forest and a little bit of the mountain range. And it's tanks out of Animorph with this airport. Presumably Animorph's grabbing these 2 territories to start building the energy required for these tanks. Snow Angel has some helicopters as well, with some barracks. Snow Angel has the first refinery for Bravo Team, and then it's all artillery and infantry so far out of both Kartoffelman and M-Life in the south here. It'll be kind of interesting because Kartoffelman and M-Life in purple and green here are going to kind of cut nickname off from being able to support Taranto and Birdie in the north. Birdie going for an even longer defensive line. Really making the geography of this map stand out, connecting these defensive lines in the forest and mountains with potentially a new defensive line in this forest up front. First tanks are out for Animorph, trying to bust through this one entrenchment with 3 more tanks on the way. There's going to be a lot of lines on the screen, obviously. This is a 4v4. Tank's doing a decent job of cutting off these reinforcements, and the first helicopter is out for Snow Angel and about to get into the fight. There's no SAMs as of yet for Alpha Team. Taranto's making the first one down here. Nickname, we can see what they were doing at first. Some barracks, 2 factories making artillery pieces, and a dock with a destroyer right off the bat. And here come more tanks for Animorph, who's setting up the first refinery at this point. Nickname's dug into the mountains here, kind of probably can tell that there's going to be 2 teams pushing here. This is Alpha Team's vision. So clearly visible in the forest, all these artillery pieces that are moving forward. But one thing to note is that Alpha Team is going for more economic development. They're about to set up this first trade route. All players have a town pretty much. There's no trade routes on the way for Bravo Team. There's no trade routes that they could possibly build. And there's also no city locations that Bravo Team can build. So they're going to need to push through this location at some point, or else the eco for Alpha Team is just going to take over, because Nickname's going to cap all of this on the right-hand side, with Tomahawk helping out in the north. And at which point it would just be Bravo Team has, or Alpha Team has way too much eco for Bravo Team to deal with. And then it would be, you know, a tough situation. It's a game of economy in general. Good thing for Nickname is that all these mountains provide a great defender's advantage. Lines likely aren't going to be super helpful at this point in the replay. Unless this really gives you a better idea of what players are thinking. Which maybe it does. I mean, Alpha Team, you know, they were pushing a little bit to the south here. Because Animorph has diverted all these tanks down to try to deal with Nickname at the moment. Probably because this is such a formidable, like, entrenchment that Alpha Team is going on here. There's tons of artillery pieces in that northernmost entrenchment for Taranto. Taranto. Might as well call them Taranto entrenchments, you know, trench, and Trantro. That's why you tune into these casts, folks. There's a rocket on the way. This is M-Life building this launch pad. So in the next, like, 7 minutes or so, there will be a rocket that Bravo Team can use here. It's going to be super important and will likely be very effective. We can imagine a rocket going in to this location to the north would just be devastating. Nickname is going to need help from Birdie. Birdie's starting to send some artillery pieces down, but this is the power of that 4 factory start that M-Life went for, and it's only been artillery pieces. So this is quite a large blob of artillery that Purple's been able to muster. Luckily for Nickname, one of the SAMs takes out that helicopter. Snow Angel has one over here, maybe some more. There's another one on the airport. And it is 2 helicopters and a transport plane now for Animorph in the north off that airport. A little bit of a probably intense situation for Nickname here. You can see that there's a defensive line in the back really making use of these mountains, forcing these tanks to go through the mountains wherever possible, so that they can't just drive through this gap and then go back here and then be on top of everything in this open field where tanks thrive and like to be. The Bravo Team's got through the first line of defenses in the mountain. This helicopter is going to be great against these 2 artillery pieces. And here comes a huge push. Taranto has got rid of this defensive line, fighting all these infantry. The first 2 helicopters for Animorph are in play. Blue SAMs are rushing up. Huge fight along the entire front line here. And we could check what's going on elsewhere in the map, but I don't think it's really important at the moment. The transport plane is still on the airport for Animorph. And we'd assume that Alpha Team is continuing to cap the right-hand side of the map. They have these 2 merchant ships out at this point, which is a huge economic boost. Birdie's going to rush forward out of this mountains, or out of this forest, pardon me, into a huge blob of artillery. And the tanks in the south get one of the buildings. They're working on this next barracks and factory from Nickname. Thankfully, this Birdie opening up this has made it so all these purple artillery aren't focusing down in the south against Nickname. And what a fight. Blue's got the artillery advantage in the north. We'll be able to push up to at least these defensive lines, unless these tanks can do anything about it. But the black infantry is starting to thin out, so they're not going to be able to provide cover for these tanks to get on top of their artillery pieces for much longer. And then there's now like 2 full dots of SAMs between blue and teal here, which should shut down these helicopters from getting involved in the fight to the north. Nickname's still in a little bit of trouble. Gonna be knocked back to just having 5 barracks, one of which is going for commandos. Commandos might be a nice defense against these tanks, since tanks have such poor vision. And I just want to see what's going on in the water. We're going to have a little bit of a fight here between Kartoffelman and Nickname's 1 destroyer. The purple artillery is starting to thin out a little bit. Tomahawk's red artillery pieces are now here and part of this fight, so it goes back to being a 4v4 in the true sense of like all the fighting units. And there's a chance that Nickname's going to lose this town, which would be a little bit of a setback. Luckily for Nickname, they border territory of their ally, so worst case, Birdie could start giving some income to Orange. And with the help of Tomahawk, this M-Life artillery line is going to collapse. And Taranto's still making pretty decent gains in the total north of the picture here. Pretty cool play from Animorph to send 4 helicopters back here to start chipping away at the reinforcements. And might even be able to get a producer if they're allowed to stay here super long and make subsequent runs into the production. There's one SAM for Taranto. That's not going to be, or two now. That's not going to be enough to deal with 4 helicopters. But with one more SAM on the way and another one built, things are going to be fine for Alpha Team. Nickname's going to lose this dock, still on 5 barracks, and has now stabilized and pushing infantry through the mountain range. And here comes Snow Angel's helicopters. The rocket for M-Life is 2/3 of the way done. And that'll be a big moment in this game, where that rocket goes and the effects of it and what happens after that. Animorph's using this transport jet to get the top left island, which does have a town and a port. We can see the progress that Alpha Team has made on the right-hand side, which is relatively substantial. And very bold, potentially, or just perfectly calculated for Birdie to go for this town. It's certainly safe for now, with all these artillery pieces and tanks that Tomahawk has sent down. And of course, there's still enough room for Birdie to dig in along this forest range, if necessary. Here comes the rocket from M-Life. There's 5 SAMs now in the back for Taranto, so the helicopters won't be able to do much against those reinforcing units. And a pretty good rocket when it really comes down to it. This leaves Birdie with just 1 factory. Everything else gets knocked out. So if there's a time for a dedicated push to kind of split Nickname off from Taranto, Birdie, and Tomahawk, it's probably now. It's just that Alpha Team actually has enough pushing power. Good SAM coverage. And we'll see if Alpha Team can get past this forest. Because if they can, I think that's... I mean, you just end up getting to like an open field where now M-Life is actually in a little bit of trouble and might lose some production facilities, but it looks like Purple is going to hold on, at least for now, in this forest. Birdie's remaking one of the factories. And all of a sudden, it's really just SAMs that Alpha Team has. There are these artillery pieces digging into the mountains, and a lot of infantry from Nickname, who's building an airport now in the south, landing from Kartoffelman to go after Nickname's barracks, which will be great because it will delay these reinforcements for Orange from getting to the front line, because they'll have to stay at home to deal with that drop. There is no second rocket on the way for Purple yet. And a super interesting fight. If we go top down and look at what the territories are like, it's certainly way more Alpha Team territory. Good place for Snow Angel to send these helicopters because there's no SAMs around it. And 3rd factory for Birdie. Taranto's starting to dig in again in the north. Probably makes a lot of sense. The momentum's kind of shifting a little bit. And we might see Bravo Team go for a dedicated push up there. And this transport plane is probably dropping somewhere up here. And that's, yeah, the direction that it came home was kind of weird. So Animorph is in the north here. Tomahawk's going for this city on the one end of that trade route, which will mean more economy for Bravo Team, or for Alpha Team. And besides Alpha Team likely having a lot more economy, the game is pretty close at this point. And it could switch quick if this trade route gets taken out. Then maybe Bravo Team has the momentum to keep pushing. A 4th factory now for Birdie. M-Life is getting rid of this rocket, this launch pad. They are very expensive to maintain. And Taranto's getting rid of this defensive line, probably to push a little bit south to help out against this push, since pink and black are heading right towards this town, kind of indirectly. And they're supported by a decent amount of artillery pieces from purple. So Nickname cleans up this drop, starts digging in some units around the barracks for future drop attempts. Still, I think, a pretty good play from Kartoffelman there. Because all of a sudden, all these infantry aren't up here. Even if they were, they'd be in a tough spot because of just how many artillery pieces Bravo Team is sending forward. City is almost done for Tomahawk. Commandos from Animorph go up to the north to try to destroy that refinery. That's a super good play. But Nickname continues to capture the right-hand side and take a lot of the industry here to get more economy. Taranto's in a little bit of a sketchy situation. The artillery is fully dug in, but a few of the pieces are falling. There's a good amount of Bravo Team infantry that is soaking up a bunch of these artillery shots, which allows this pink artillery in the back to work more effectively. And this is quite an arty blob, pardon me, from Snow Angel. And certainly at this point threatening a lot of Birdie's production. And soon to be Taranto's production as well. It's always a tough sign when the SAMs have to start fighting infantry at the front line. And here come the helicopters to the south. Again, we're back into that situation we saw earlier in the game, which is a push along the entire front. This is what the lines for a push along the entire front in a 4v4 looks like. Absolute madness. Nickname's starting to build a launch pad. And this will be enormous. Once Nickname, with the economy that presumably Orange has, with all that territory that they've been capping on the right-hand side and all the industry that has been built, a rocket and then a subsequent rocket will really put an end to a lot of these pushes, or at least put an end to one half of the map. Like if we split, it seems like there's two sides of the map that there's being pushed on, right? Like this town kind of separates the two. There's the northern half of this and the southern half. The rocket's going to be able to stop a push on at least one of those. And it actually could even hit some of this production for Animorph potentially. I'm not sure what the exact range of this is. So commandos got landed from this transport plane. The helicopters are doing their thing again, disrupting the reinforcements. This is a really good play. One of Birdie's factories goes down. Nickname's got 2 helicopters on the southern airport. There's no SAMs for Bravo Team that are in position. This is a very nice play from Tomahawk to put some cruisers down here, which should be able to protect this town for a little bit longer. Birdie's going to start digging in front of it. But this is still a lot of Bravo Team units. And there's not a lot of Alpha Team units that are dug in, ready for this. If I had to predict it, I think that this town is actually going to go down. It's going to destroy the trade route. Because there's just too much infantry and too much artillery. One SAM from Nickname takes out a black helicopter. But by this point, Bravo Team Kartoffelman is on top of this airport. With the help of the helicopters, these infantry will likely be able to destroy Orange's airport here. And Nickname's building 2 more factories. As his teammate loses the town, which stops all these merchant ships from moving. So that's a great play from Bravo Team. It's a good development. The launch pad is now done for Nickname. It isn't quite building a rocket yet. And now it's about to get put on the stand, and there it is. So Nickname's gonna likely have to dig in close to this rocket. Although maybe with these mountains, these artillery pieces are gonna move way like way slower through these mountain ranges, so they might have actually time to build that rocket and get it fired before the launch pad does die. Birdie's rebuilding this town. It's now a weird situation for Birdie because if you lose all of your buildings, you're knocked out of the game. And at this moment in line where you can't build on your allies' territory. So once this factory goes down, if this town wasn't constructed, Birdie would be out of the game. This is the last building for Teal at this point. And this is an enormous blob of artillery. With some tanks mixed in the north, Birdie's now just playing whack-a-mole with the building, the production, to stay in this game a little bit longer. But it's, as mentioned, a very difficult spot. I mean, these are the only two territories that Birdie has. And building a, you know, a barracks up here isn't really going to do much good. The town is put down again. Birdie's last building, unless they've landed somewhere else or ran infantry across the map, which I don't think happened. This might be it, which will be interesting because then it would put Alpha Team in a 3v4 situation. Taranto's losing some more production. The rocket is a third of the way done. And Birdie's out of the game because of no structures left, which is a huge deal. We've seen how difficult it is in general to win when you're down a person on your team, just because of the economies of the situation. And so at this point in the 3v4, this is what we're looking at. Alpha Team has capped pretty much the entire right-hand side of the map, with a lot of the eco developed. Nickname's starting to build these two towns in the back. Still building cruisers in the south. The rocket will certainly get launched, unless Animorph is going to start targeting this launch pad with all the helicopters. And we can see that Animorph's actually moving every helicopter within range of this, recognizing that this is a big deal. Snow Angel's helicopter is also involved here, because one rocket landing right here destroys everything for Bravo Team. And already we see that Alpha Team is going to just back up a little bit. Taranto's going to start building close to Tomahawk's base. And this might come down to the wire. 3 helicopters getting harassed by these cruisers on the water. Or I guess can the cruisers even hit them? I think they can. Yeah, they definitely can. And that's going to save the day. There's 5 more helicopters about to get here, but I'm guessing that this is what happens, is that the rocket launches just before they can destroy the launch pad. This launch pad is going to blow up before the rocket even lands. And there we go. Pretty decent rocket. Gets rid of the entire artillery blob in general. Snow Angel has some pieces down here that are going to move up to the north to greet what is going to be a relatively large army from red and blue. And Nickname's going to try to hold off Kartoffelman and M-Life in the south here. We'll be aided by some of these Tomahawk cruisers. There's 4 SAMs for Kartoffelman that are kind of close to be able to deal with these helicopters. Nickname only has 3 at the moment. And there's actually enough green infantry that they might be able to shoot down one of these helicopters. Cruisers buy some time, but there's 4 artillery pieces shelling this thing, 5 rather. So the boats won't be able to help out Nickname for much longer. Alpha Team is rushing in to meet this line of artillery from Snow Angel. A super interesting game. If Snow Angel gets all this production involved... Whoa, 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 what's happening? Here we go. Okay, so Nickname's got boats and destroyed that refinery. Whenever the pipelines explode, it's just such a cool visual effect. That looks pretty intense. Always throws me off. Nickname's fully dug in, which is the only good thing here, because clearly the numbers are in Bravo Team's favor. Kartoffelman's rebuilding this town that used to be Birdie's. And Animorph and Snow Angel are launching their helicopters at the same time, which is huge because it makes it, I mean, the units when they attack in numbers are always better than if they attacked by, like, in fewer numbers. What a sentence. But just good teamwork between the two of these folks to take on those SAMs. And Snow Angel still has a lot of artillery pieces. Now these units are starting to move forward, which is obviously good for Bravo Team. And very slowly, Nickname is going to lose this position and likely get pushed back up to this choke. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but this doesn't seem like a situation where Orange can really win as long as Bravo Team keeps pushing forward and reinforcing with some units. So far, Red and Blue are holding on in the north. But maybe not for long. It's kind of hard to tell. This is going to be a huge deal because this is a lot of power that Snow Angel is going to be able to deliver to the front once these units get involved. And it's still a good, healthy helicopter count from Black and Pink. Submarines for Animorph, who has built that town in port in the top left. Tomahawk is going to build a dock here, which could be super helpful, leaving like some missile ships here or cruisers to help out along the coast. And it'll be interesting to see the submarines fight this Red Navy, because this is pretty much a lake in the north. There's no, like, the boats can't get out of this water. Nickname's still holding the Navy in the bottom, has 2 refineries in the back, and is stopping Kartoffelman from rebuilding a dock. And I was gonna say, I wonder, like, there has to be another rocket at some point. Especially as the maps become, like, there's more chokes in these locations. So that's Tomahawk who launches the first one for Alpha Team. Does a ton of damage. And at the moment, it's really a 2v2, fighting for the north part of the map between Red and Blue and Black and Pink. But this is the power of having a numbers advantage. It's a 2v1 in the south here. Nickname's building a bunch of factories and a city on the right-hand side. And this will be difficult for Bravo Team to push through if these artillery pieces get super dug in. And a little bit of a reset in the north. And we see that Tomahawk is not building a second rocket yet. Animorph landing more commandos up in the north. And this is actually transport boats out of Tomahawk. Nice play from Purple to be going for the eco as this push happens. And if we go top down, still not a huge amount of change in the total territory that both teams have. But there's no trade route. So Alpha Team not in, you know, as good a position. Nickname's rebuilding a city and Tomahawk already has one. And so it looks like Kartoffelman could build this as a city, but it'll be kind of difficult too because this is one of the industries that is connected. So until this farm is built, this town won't be able to be converted into a city and give that economic boost. decent amount of tanks now in the fight for Tomahawk. And very slowly, Alpha Team is kind of pushing this back. We can take a look at both the fights that are going on. Nickname putting this airport super close to the coast, likely to get even closer up to the north to support whatever goes on there. And I don't think that Bravo Team is going to be able to get through this choke at this point, with 5 cruisers here helping out. All the artillery pieces kind of derping as they try to go through this position. This is Nickname's entrenchment. But the artillery pieces are already opened up. Maybe without the cruisers this would be a little bit closer, but this is the power of geography in line war. And that choke is just always going to favor the defender. So 1 missile boat done for Tomahawk. It's going to get cleaned up by these 4 helicopters from Bravo Team. 2nd missile boat about to finish. There is no more sub-pen. I wonder if Animorph actually just destroyed that sub-pen immediately. After building 1 submarine just to cap this water. And we're seeing in the south that Bravo Team is going to slowly back off. But it'll still be very difficult for Nickname to then push through this, since it will be a 2v1 situation. And very slowly, Purple and Green might be able to get involved in the north. Rocket for Tomahawk. The 2nd one is halfway done. And blue and red are making some decent gains here. At least forcing some of these artillery pieces for Animorph to back up and get dug in. And it would be kind of interesting to look at the total economies, because Nickname's probably crushing at this point. So 320 for Taranto, pardon me. 1049 for Tomahawk. Nickname's at 1191. Kartoffelman at 440. M-Life at 432. Snow Angel at 410. And what is Animorph at? We missed Animorph, 583. Okay, so we're left in this situation where Tomahawk, or pardon me, Taranto is out of the game. It's now 2v4. But Alpha Team with Tomahawk in the north and Nickname in the south still have more economy. At least a very close amount to what all 4 players on Bravo Team have. There's a lot of helicopters from Animorph, who is securing another gas in the water now that this dock has been destroyed. And a launch pad on the way for Nickname. And this could be huge, these drops that Nickname's going to start going for. We've seen how effective Nickname is with commandos so many times. An advantage that Alpha Team has at the moment is that they have rockets. They still have a launch pad. This is a pretty wild shot because it's going to destroy pretty much every helicopter for Pink. Yeah, it's everything except for 2. That's actually a relatively big deal. Because now it makes this marching artillery and tank army going to be that much more effective. If there was still like the 8 helicopters or whatever it is, it's actually very difficult for Red to do anything here. More factories for Kartoffelman forward. At this point, there's only a few more industry that Bravo Team could even build on their side of the map. Whereas Alpha Team has got... Nickname's got a 2nd city on the way. And Tomahawk's built everything that they can in the north. Great landings from Tomahawk here. With that constant commando pressure, there is actually a launch pad that Animorph has, but I assume it's the money issue, and that's what we're seeing. We're actually on Animorph's view right now, so this is their economy, and there's not enough money in the bank. 500 is required to build a rocket. And Nickname's got 4 transport boats that probably are going to start trying to land across here, which will be great for Nickname if this actually happens, because this impending launch pad from Kartoffelman is going to be pretty much exactly where these units will potentially land. With the Navy control in the south, it's very difficult for like Kartoffelman or anyone to build docks along the southern coast and then start doing drops. There's nothing back here to defend all this infrastructure, so if Bravo Team could magically get some commandos back here, it would be huge. But Nickname still has all that Navy control and some boats along the coast that can do some good spotting to look out for docks that could get built. And the landing from Orange isn't going to be close to this rock. It's actually going to be up to the north to reinforce Tomahawk here. Which makes a lot of sense. I mean, Nickname's dug in. These units aren't going to be able to go anywhere. And we'll see if Bravo Team decides to start pushing through this gap if they figure out what is actually happening here. So this is Animorph's view. So some of the transport boats kind of envision. The rocket certainly is. It'll become pretty clear relatively quickly that to Bravo Team that Nickname is landing stuff in the north. But it's still 3v1 against Tomahawk, really, besides these SAMs. This is actually an M-Life rocket, pardon me. This launch pad being built. Tomahawk's rocket is 2/3 of the way done. We've seen how far it can get, so we'll be able to destroy all of these units. I think it's a good play for Manamorph to build this town. Even though it's kind of close to all these units, it at least gives more economy so that they'll be able to afford this rocket maybe soonish. A little bit of a tough landing spot for all these orange units, but there's going to be enough of them that they'll at least be able to get situated on land. There's even one infantry for Tomahawk getting involved. And 6 bombers are complete for Nickname. Rocket for M-Life is now on the stand. And Rocket for Animorph is now on the stand. Tomahawk's is completed. Tomahawk running on, what is this? I can count 7, 8 factories and 4 barracks, soon to be 3 barracks. Against all of this of Bravo Team. And here comes Tomahawk's rocket, which is going to do like a devastating amount of damage. And it does land. These tanks might be able to just start moving through. I mean, they would be greeted by all the reinforcements that are going to pour in here. And 6 transport boats in total for Orange, carrying all these units across. So this has been capped. Barracks and airport in the south for Nickname, so potentially going to be transport planes for some commando drops. Which will be super difficult for Bravo Team to deal with, since they're very embroiled in this frontline push, and if there's groups of commandos for Orange in the back here, it just means less units that Bravo Team can send forward. Animorph has slowly rebuilt this helicopter count. This one submarine is still hanging out, starting to destroy these docks, and also doing great for scouting information. So unless Tomahawk decides to put down an airport and do some transport plane drops, it's a great job for Animorph to keep shutting down these docks so there can't be any transport boats that Tomahawk can use to get across the water. Nickname moves out of this defensive line and starts to push a little bit forward. And here comes the rocket for Orange. And does Nickname actually see this launch pad? Yes. And so this rocket is probably going to just hit this launch pad directly. And it does. So no more rocket for M-Life. Still a rocket on the way for Animorph. And here come the bombers for Nickname. There's not a lot of SAMs for Bravo Team. These bombers might do a ton of damage. M-Life rebuilds this launch pad here, which is still in range of Nickname's launch pad, but it isn't seen at the moment. There's not enough units for Alpha Team around to actually get that spot that building. Launch pads have a default like stealth characteristic. They just as a building, they're like a submarine pen. They have some automatic stealth. Tomahawk's got another rocket on the stand. And some synchronized, what is that, town destruction? Between Animorphs here and Kartoffelmans in this forest. And at this point, it's looking pretty tough for Bravo Team. The economies of Alpha Team are just huge. Second City is super online for Nickname. Second City for Tomahawk is also online. I didn't even realize this could be a city. It is a city at this point. And Animorph elects to launch the rocket at the army of Nickname and Tomahawk. It's a pretty good rocket. Presumably at this point now, Bravo Team needs to push very, very hard. Because they know that there's going to be another rocket on the way. And probably just need to push hard through the north. And then just hope that they defend against Nickname in the south here. Because Nickname's no longer transporting units across, is now just pushing entirely in the south, which is going to draw a lot of these units for Bravo Team to have to go down there to help out. I don't think any of the bombers were lost on the last run, which is super good for Nickname. Allowing these bombers to just get even more value. Another rocket on the stand for Animorph as well. Nickname is ahead of the other two in rocket production. M-Life has just now finished this launch pad. Gotta keep an eye out for whether Nickname can actually see this. But at this point, if Nickname just launches a rocket in the north, this might be enough to just end the game. And then Animorph will just keep pushing units down here. Subpen and Dock for Tomahawk. Actually, just gotta see Bravo Team's view. Okay, so this Dock and Subpen are not in view. And another run-by from Animorph's helicopter to try to destroy this launch pad, which is probably the right call, since this will be such a devastating rocket like we just mentioned. But a good amount of missile boats from Alpha Team. Stop that from happening. Here comes the rocket. And it's probably going to destroy this standing army, which is going to give Orange a wide open lane to push up through this mountain range. Tomahawk's doing pretty well in the north. The bombers are doing a tremendous job to help out. And all of a sudden, these tanks are surviving, pardon me, a lot longer than they were before, which allows even more tank reinforcements to get here, and we're going to see Tomahawk on a lot of tanks relatively quick. There's another launch pad, or rocket, pardon me, on the launch pad for Tomahawk. A lot of commandos and transport planes ready to go. Nickname continues to build them up. Likely going to go for a big doom drop style once there's, like, the airport is full of commandos, or pardon me, full of transport planes. M-Life's now got the rocket on the stand. Can Alpha Team see this? Not yet. But nothing else going on the map. There's still no drops or anything from Bravo team on the right-hand side. Some helicopters getting in on the action, at least scouting for this rocket, which is going to be sent at the army again. And the plan from Nickname is to actually just dig in along this southern mountain range and then start transporting units across to the north. Likely because this is going so well for Tomahawk. Plane animation still looking great. And at this point, it's probably pretty difficult for Bravo team to stop this at all. It's just the power of 4 cities combined pushing forward. The good news is that M-Life is going to be able to use this rocket. It's not going to... The launch pad isn't going to get destroyed before this rocket is finished. And likely the rocket would be used on this launch pad. But there's a good amount of missile boats, so the rocket would have to go right over 9 full missile boats if it was used on the launch pad. Which may be enough of a reason for Purple to just send this thing down here and destroy a ton of artillery pieces. Tomahawk's going to stop this refinery and continue pushing towards this sub-pen that Animorph's trying to build. And then it's super tough because I guess the helicopters are going to be able to destroy these missile boats. But the missile boats can destroy the launch pad if Tomahawk can see this. Not quite yet. Okay, where are these drops? Here it is. There it is. All the transport planes actually went up here. And this is how much vision commandos can get. With this many of them pooled together, it's a very decent vision that they get, that circle. And now it's just paying for Bravo team because there's going to be 10 commandos back here. There's going to be more reinforcements coming. It's now 2 barracks on the southernmost island for Nickname. And this rocket is going right towards the production of Anwarf. So we said at the beginning of the game, I guess this is about as far as this thing can go. But it destroys a lot of these SAMs, which will allow these bombers to do even more damage. Snow Angel has resigned. There's just too many commandos here. We'll probably see Bravo team fall off relatively quick now. And here comes 4 more planes. 5 more planes, pardon me, of commandos heading out. We're hearing the DC sound of Snow Angel. And that is certainly what a game. Very cool to see that whole frontline fight at the very beginning. Animorphs out of here. So many commandos dropped right on these 3 factories for M-Life. And if this round of commandos can't destroy these buildings, it's going to be the next round of commandos that can. M-Life is also GGing, leaving only Kartoffelman. Good game. Well played all. Very cool game, especially at the beginning. I mean, the whole game was cool, but like the beginning, seeing that full front line. Well played. Let's see the income. Yeah, so even at the beginning, Alpha team just ahead on the money. Which is to be expected when we looked at the map and how much eco potential there was on the left-hand side versus the right-hand side. Kind of makes sense. But folks, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to learn more about the game, chat with folks, see what's up, find games, check out the Line War Discord. I stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/SodaQuackers if you want to come hang out and chat, talk about the games, see gameplay of the game. Otherwise, have a wonderful night, day, evening, breakfast, lunch, dinner, afternoon snack, tea, whatever it is. We'll see you around. Peace.